Samsung might be about to repeat one of its biggest mistakes, and this time, it could happen with its most important phone of the year, the Galaxy S26 Ultra. After the disappointing performance of the Galaxy S25 Edge, Samsung seems ready to take another bold and potentially risky leap. The rumor? The next Ultra might ditch Qualcomm's Snapdragon chip and bring back Samsung's own Exynos processor. Now, on paper, that might sound like a power move, a company reclaiming control over its own hardware. But history tells us this kind of move can go either way. Because let's be real, whenever you mention Exynos, most longtime Samsung users immediately think of heat issues, slower performance, and the feeling of being shortchanged compared to Snapdragon users. That's the baggage Samsung's walking into with the S26 Ultra. Let's rewind for a second. The S25 Edge was supposed to be Samsung's big, thin, and beautiful experiment, a super slim flagship that would compete with the likes of Apple's iPhone Air. But it didn't quite land. Despite all the marketing hype, the S25 Edge only sold around 1.3 million units, lagging way behind the regular S25, S25 Plus, and S25 Ultra. Samsung expected the Edge to replace the Plus model entirely, but now it looks like the Edge line might already be dead, scrapped before its second generation even hit the shelves. And that flop put Samsung in an awkward spot. The company needs a win, something to rebuild confidence in its flagship lineup. The Galaxy S26 Ultra was supposed to be that win, but the latest leaks suggest that instead of playing it safe, Samsung's doubling down on another gamble, powering its most premium phone with the in-house Exynos 2600 chip. Now, here's the twist though. This isn't the same old Exynos we used to complain about. The new Exynos 2600 is rumored to be built on Samsung's 2nm process, and early leaks claim it outperforms Apple's i19 Pro and Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 in AI performance, graphics, and multi-core power. If those numbers hold true, that's massive. It means Samsung might finally have created a chip that can genuinely compete or even lead at the top of the industry. But the problem isn't performance on paper. The problem is trust. People don't buy chips, they buy experiences. And Samsung has a history of inconsistent performance between its Snapdragon and Exynos models. Even if the Exynos 2600 turns out to be incredible, consumers might not believe it until real-world reviews and comparisons start rolling in. And that delay could cost Samsung valuable early sales during the pre-order period. That's why many people, even some inside Samsung's fan base, are asking the same question. Why take this risk with the Ultra? Why not test the new chip in a less critical model, like the standard S26 or the S25 Plus, and prove it first before putting it inside the flagship that represents the very best Samsung has to offer? Because the Galaxy S Ultra isn't just another phone. It's Samsung's crown jewel, the one that's supposed to showcase the absolute peak of design, performance, and technology. Using it as a testing ground for a comeback chip feels bold, maybe too bold. If anything goes wrong, throttling, optimization issues, battery drain, it could overshadow everything else the phone does right. So why is Samsung doing it? Well, there's a practical side to this story. Building your own chips is cheaper than paying Qualcomm for every Snapdragon unit. And with margins shrinking in the smartphone market, cost efficiency is becoming just as important as innovation. If Samsung can pull this off, delivering top-tier performance with a homegrown processor, it could save billions in the long run and reclaim some technological pride in the process. But that's a big if, because the timing couldn't be trickier. The iPhone Air, despite mixed reviews in the West, is selling like crazy in China. Apple's thinnest phone ever is proof that people still love fresh ideas, but only when they work perfectly. Samsung's S25 Edge showed the opposite, that design experiments can backfire hard when they don't deliver a solid experience. So, the Galaxy S26 Ultra becomes more than just another phone launch. It's a make-or-break moment for Samsung's strategy. If the Exynos 2600 performs as advertised and Samsung nails the user experience, it could mark a new era, one where the company no longer needs to depend on Qualcomm and can proudly say, "We built this from the ground up." But if it doesn't, well, we've seen how this movie ends before. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.